Welcome to part two of the NCAA Tournament breakdown of the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan, and still with me is Kyle Hunter of huntersportspicks.com. Make sure you get to that site. He has a tremendous amount of information over there and content that I know you'll enjoy. And Kyle, we're here again. We're going to do the West and the East, and what an exciting week! I mean, it's just like even doing these shows is a little hectic, but it's extraordinarily fun.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. It feels like it's a little bit hectic, but really exciting too. I love this week. I get pumped up about this week every year, and really missed it last year. Really missed it.
It
So
was
super
dreadful.
excited this year for it.
Yeah, for me, I got this all started last week with the Players Championship in golf, and it was the first time in my DraftKings life that on a Sunday I looked at the first page of the leaderboard and I had five of my six guys on that first page, but
Nice.
didn't win the 1.2 million. But I actually was so superstitious, Kyle. I at that point I refused to look at the app. I didn't want to look at the line of what place I was in because I knew it had to be in the top 250, which is still good. I had three of the six cash, so it was a profitable day. But there for a while, you can feel the adrenaline rush pretty good. Like, oh my god! But
Yeah.
anyway, we're here for the NCAA tournament. So we're going to start in the West, and you have the playing game happening tomorrow with Norfolk State and Appalachian State. That's their kind of like their championship game of the season to get into the tournament, and then obviously Gonzaga is Gonzaga, and they're numerically one of the most efficient offensive teams we've seen probably in 20 years. But also one that on my sentiment that I mentioned on the first show is based on machine learning, it goes through 2,200 tweets. Everybody and their brother is bullish on Gonzaga. Everybody has them going to the championship game and winning. And for whatever reason, it happens in the stock market, it happens in commodity prices, even it's going to happen in Bitcoin. That when everybody is all facing the same direction, for whatever reason, the opposite can and will happen. So in my bracket for my competition, I got to find a place here where Gonzaga stumbles, and that is kind of hard.
It is hard, John. They gave him a really favorable bracket. Before the tournament, I was thinking I can't pick Gonzaga because everybody's going to want to pick them. And then I see the bracket, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to knock Gonzaga out of this thing. It's certainly a favorable bracket.
Yeah, and the two seed, and I mentioned this on the first show, the two seed Iowa came up as the most negative sentiment reading from the applications run this morning. Uh, Comments. I can't look at 2,200 tweets, but the key word was soft. That was one of the words that came up the most in the analysis, and I can understand why they might say that. But look at Garza, he's a pretty big dude. I don't think I'd walk up to him and say he's soft. But what I like about Iowa is the ball handling, the offensive efficiencies. They're probably the offensive efficient team that can compete against Gonzaga and can possibly beat them. So it is possible in this bracket, again, just based on what I might do for my competition, is take Iowa and Gonzaga all the way to the regional final. And then, maybe I'll flip a coin. But Iowa was the most negative. So I think if there's any brackets that get blown up, after the Sweet 16 with Iowa still in it, that's going to go against a lot of people.
Yeah, to be honest, John, I can't take Iowa over Gonzaga. I don't think their defense is good enough to be able to beat Gonzaga. Obviously anything can happen in one game, but I'm concerned about Iowa's defense. They play a lot of that zone defense. I don't think that's a great matchup against Gonzaga, a team that can really shoot the ball. So I don't hate Iowa as a team, but I think their defense isn't quite good enough.
Well, if you're an Iowa fan, the game that they're arguably going to play Oregon. Oregon plays VCU. That's a 10-7 matchup. And for the first time, Oregon is 100% healthy. They were the preseason kingpin in the Pac-12, and they have that head coach that you just absolutely love because he does extraordinarily well this time of year. And I'll let you steal the thunder on that.
Yeah, I think Dana Altman, I believe, is 14-5-1 ATS in his last 20 here in the NCAA tournament. It's something like that. He's excellent at the end of the year, over 60% in the last 10 games of the season. So if it were going to be Oregon versus Iowa, John, I'm probably taking Oregon plus the points.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I really can't because the defense for Iowa is exactly what you said. They go periods of like 4 minutes and forgetting to play defense. It's kind of I've seen LSU do that where it's almost like the coach would have to tell them to play man for a minute and then go back to a zone or a matchup zone just to keep them focused. Iowa has had those brain dead 4 minute stretches in the second half and. You can't do that against a team like Oregon, let alone Gonzaga. Another game here we were looking at. Well, you probably want to talk about Virginia and Ohio, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with wearing the OU hat, you can kind of see where I'm going to go with this one. But I think Ohio has a chance to win this game outright, John. I really do. Virginia, off this COVID pause, they haven't been able to practice. We know they're going to be out at least one player. And Virginia has played a ton of really close games all year. They play that really slow possession. Obviously, they're not nearly as good as they were a couple of years ago. Everybody knows that. But I think Virginia has so many close games at a low score that, it allows a team to have a shot at the end of the game. You give me this many points with Ohio. I took the line on Sunday night, so I got a much better number than is available right now. So obviously I don't like it quite as much, but when I took that, I also took the money line, and I think the money line is still in play as a possibility here for Ohio.
That's very interesting. Does the betting flows seem to be pretty heavy on Ohio? Is that a concern for you? Not that it would take you off the bet, but
yeah, I don't love my underdogs to have a lot of the public on them. To be honest, like I said, I bet this on Sunday night. So I think everybody's finding out about Virginia's issues and that they can't practice all week. And that's gotten out there enough that people are placing that bet. So in this case, I'm not changing my opinion on it because I think there is a reason for that to be happening. It's not just speculation alone.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of trends here too that I can provide later that support Ohio U in a big way, including the coaching. One right here, Virginia is 8-19 as a spread, facing a team that's outscoring their opponents by 4 more points per game in the regular season and neutral court settings, and that's over 2 years. So the last 2 years, this has not been a good matchup for Virginia, no matter what conference the team comes out of. So some cautionary flags there for sure in betting Virginia. Then you have, this is probably the second strangest seeding. I just didn't see USC as a 6. And then they got a playing game, Wichita State against Drake. Drake had the big, huge ATS run, but now they've kind of have stumbled a little bit themselves. I think Wichita State gets in, but then if you agree with that, Kyle, I see USC actually destroying either one of those teams and advancing.
Yeah, I think the key for the Wichita State Drake game is Hemphill, their leading scorer and a big rebounder as well. There's some question as whether he's going to play. He's missed a lot of the games here recently, but the coach said he's, quote, on track to be ready for this game. So I think that's a really key thing to watch. We'll see. It's probably, John, don't you feel like this is one of those things where it might pop up about 2 minutes before the game, whether he's going to play or not? It's going to be last minute thing. But as far as USC versus whoever they play here, I will say Andy Enfield, I believe 7-0 against the spread in the NCAA tournament. The thing is, a lot of those were with Florida Gulf Coast. We remember that. And, USC has been inconsistent. They have the really good big man, Mobley, very talented team. They're very inconsistent. I will say that if USC plays Drake or Wichita State, I'm pretty sure I'm going to pass on that game, John. I just feel like that's a high variance game.
Oh, I definitely agree. Good choice of words too. Looking further down here, now we have. I'm gonna be interested to know what you think of Kansas's chances of knocking off. They would first knock off Iowa and then Gonzaga. Certainly not the traditional Kansas team that we're used to seeing, but they have 20 wins, 8 losses. They get, Eastern Washington has a pretty darn good offense, but again, they don't have the depth that a Kansas has, or the size, or the length, and I think Kansas easily gets through that game. And then they would be matched up against probably USC, arguably. But do you think Kansas is a team that could be a Final Four?
No, I don't think so. It would surprise me quite a bit. I will say for that first game against Eastern Washington, the Big Sky has done really bad in the NCAA tournament in the past. I believe they're 4-10-1 against the spread in that round of 64. It's a weak conference. It's a huge jump from the Big Sky to the Big 12. So Kansas could look really good in that first game, and it doesn't really tell you a lot because it's more about Eastern Washington's being from such a weak league. I don't think Kansas has enough firepower on offense to get through all those teams, John. I think that, if they matched up against Iowa, for example, I think Iowa can score on Kansas, even though Kansas is pretty good defensively. I don't know if Kansas can keep up. I think there's at least a chance, though, it could be Kansas and Oregon. And in that game, I think Oregon would have a shot there as well. So, if you're looking for one of those to be very different, John and I talked about this on the last one, where you kind of want to be a contrarian in a bracket. I've seen far worse ideas than taking Oregon a little ways into this tournament, So as far as Kansas, I think their upside's a bit limited. I think Bill Self's a really good coach, and he maximized his talent pretty well this year.
Yeah, I agree, Kyle. If you put Oregon all the way to the West Region Championship or the West Region Final against Gonzaga, and then obviously Gonzaga advances, I don't think many people would have Oregon going up against Gonzaga. But they certainly have the talent, I think, if they put it all together, there's no reason that they couldn't do that. It's not like I don't think it's a stretch. I mean, it's not like looking at USC, for example, as being the team that makes it all the way to challenge Gonzaga. I think Oregon has a much better chance.
Yeah, I think so as well. I still think Gonzaga is the team that's going to come out of this, but like you, I wanted to find a way to knock them out of this, but this is a pretty easy bracket for Gonzaga matchups wise.
Yeah, for sure on that. So maybe it will be in the Final Four where they get knocked off by the East champion, which this region has Michigan, which unfortunately has lost their best player, and that's just unfortunate. I guess he's like number 2 or number 3 on the team in just about every single stat, and that's unfortunate. However, LSU and St. Bonaventure is the 8-9, and what a matchup that is. And on the previous show, and I've been beating this like a dead horse, St. Bonaventure has 5 returning starters, all juniors. The chemistry on that team is awesome. They're third in scoring defense, albeit at a much slower pace of game. But I believe it's like 60.3 points per game. LSU, one of the most inconsistent teams, in my opinion. We mentioned them already as a comparison to Iowa. Sometimes on defense, LSU just is, it's like a bullfight with a matador, and they allow way too many layups and dunks. But I guess Michigan here has a pretty easy ride to the East Final, I guess, unless St. Bonaventure would win against LSU and then pull off the miracle. But the game I wanted to really talk about was on the sentiment. Suddenly Georgetown is everybody's sweetheart. They won the Big East, and that's great for the program. It's great for Patrick Ewing. I mean, not taking anything away from it. And they're a 12, and of course the 12s are the big upset that everybody now knows. But they're going against a Colorado team that obviously did not play well in their Pac-12 championship game against Oregon State, and they're being cast to the gutter. So I think the betting flows, Kyle, if you have them in front of you, would be pretty high on Georgetown, at least in terms of number of tickets.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that 59% of the tickets are on Colorado, 55% of the money on Colorado. So initially, this was more towards Georgetown, John, and now this has gone back the other way towards Colorado. Probably a little bit of buyback there as that number got a little bit down. I see it's up to 5.5 too, and John, I have to say about this game, both of these were teams that I wanted to fade in the first round, and now they're playing each other. So I have to pass on this game. I think I have a lean to the under if I had to play something here. But Georgetown made that huge run through the Big East tournament. Everybody's talking about them. Like I want to sell high. This is like stocks. We want to try to sell high. I don't know that any stock could have made a bigger jump than what Georgetown has. Their rise has been kind of like Bitcoin lately. But
Yeah.
the Georgetown's a better team than they played early in the season, but I don't know that they're as good as they've looked here lately. One thing I did want to say about this game is Colorado in a close game. Free throw shooting for them has been excellent. They shoot 83% from the free throw line. And we all know that you see the end of those games in the NCAA tournament where they come down to free throws. If it comes down to free throws, Colorado's a good team to have.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think there's value in Colorado, but again, this is what's great about these conversations and discussions. What you said is making me cautious now that I'm discounting what Georgetown has accomplished and thinking that Colorado will bounce back to the team that we thought they were. Because I think you and I played them more than a few times this year successfully. So maybe it's that bias that's interfering with my intellect. But the game here, I know you want to talk about is Florida State. See going up against you. 21-8, Florida State 16-6. Probably one of the most talented Florida State. I'll turn it over to you and see what you think here.
All right, John, you're breaking up for me, so I hopefully the viewers can hear at least decent. But this is UNC Greensboro and Florida State. Florida State, 56% of the tickets on them, 89% of the money on them thus far. I think this is an interesting game because UNC Greensboro, the way they have to score is inside. They don't shoot it well from three at all. And, Florida State is the tallest team in the country. Good luck getting to the basket against them. I don't think it's going to happen. The way Greensboro has to score here is by their full court press. Press and get some easy scores in transition. Florida State does turn the ball over quite a bit. So I think that's their path to trying to win here is Greensboro using that full court press. Having said that, I think Greensboro will be very weak in the half court in this game. So I don't see them scoring that many points here. I'm going to lean toward the under, and I think probably Florida State. To be honest, I think Florida State is worth a look as well as a team that might be able to make a bit of a run. I think Florida State would even be a challenging matchup for Michigan. All right, so it looks like John is off. John, are you back?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know
Okay.
what's. I don't know what the problem is, but I guess we'll just keep going here and hopefully.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so I was on UNC Greensboro and Florida State. I was saying that my lean here was the under and Florida State, and I also
Yep.
think that Florida State could be a difficult matchup for Michigan even.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. If Florida State puts it all together, they have all the talent in the world that they could be a Final Four participant, especially with Michigan, depleted with their star player. Texas Abilene Christian. Um, yes. for Texas, and money was coming in at Abilene Christian. I could not believe it. I thought I was getting the gift of all gifts with Texas. And I'm going to stay off this game. But do you think Abilene Christian could pull off the upset?
The bets are 54% on Texas, and the money is 51% to Texas. So we have a pretty even split on this game. I have a few things about this game, John, I wanted to say here briefly. Abilene is a really short team. They rank in the second percentile in average height, 6'3". That's actually pretty short when you're thinking of college basketball teams. And Abilene's guards are the single shortest group of guards in the country. Very short. They have a 5'7" guard that plays quite a bit. Texas is 73rd percentile in height, so I think that could be a problem for Abilene, especially on offense. Texas uses a bunch of ball screens on offense, 35 points per game off of those. Abilene ranks in the top 5 in the country defensively against ball screens. So this is at Lucas Oil Stadium, the major football venue. If anything, I lean to the under in this game, thinking that both teams could shoot a little bit more poorly than you would expect. But it's kind of hard to find a case for Abilene winning this game outright with the huge height disadvantage. And obviously, they play a much weaker schedule throughout the course of the season. I don't know how much I love Texas to make a deep run here. Some people are taking them all the way to the Final Four. I don't know if I've seen enough consistency from them to want to take them for a deep run, but I don't think I can take Abilene with those kind of disadvantages.
Yeah, I would agree, and hopefully everybody can hear me now. You can hear me, Kyle?
Yeah, I can hear you. There
Okay.
for a while, it got pretty shaky. So I assume everybody else, it was a little bit rocky there for a little bit, but I think it's cleared up now.
I think what it is Periscope is going away March 31st, and we're running the video at 1080p high def. And the times that we've had YouTube and Periscope running simultaneously is when this has happened. The first show was just YouTube live, and we were doing a comparison to actually see. So I think we got one of our many questions about why this is happening, but I think it's the 1080p just gobbles up a tremendous amount of energy, and Periscope is being set for being dismissed. But anyway, glad you can hear me. UConn, Maryland. I like the Big Ten school here against UConn getting, I guess, 3.5. I'm not a big fan of UConn. They have played well at times, and I get the point of them being favored, but I think the Big Ten is battle tested, and I just would not. I look forward to taking Big Ten dogs in this tournament this year. Also, Big 12 dogs, because they were the two best conferences by far. So if there was going to be an upset here, I think Maryland has the tools to get it done. But then they play Alabama, and the season's over. So, it's like, Alabama is a 2 seed, and they're probably the one that's not being talked about on these big shows, on the major networks. And I don't get it at all, because with Michigan in their situation, I would have to say Alabama is the best team in this East region.
Yeah, John, I think Alabama to win this region as a future is a decent play here. I think that Alabama is kind of getting overlooked. Even if you take Alabama to win the national title, not terrible value there, because if you think they can get to the Final Four, you could clearly hedge out at a profit in the Final Four. So I think Alabama futures make some sense. They're good enough defensively. Everybody thinks about how much they run, but efficiency-wise, they're a top 5 defense. So I like that about them quite a bit. As far as the UConn and Maryland game, John, I don't know what to do with this game. I think I'm going to pass this game because I'm not as high on UConn as most people, kind of like you. At the same time, I don't like Mark Turgeon very much. I don't trust his teams that well. So that's an easy pass for me.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, too. And maybe I should do the same. Yeah, that's the one thing that does stick out with these tournaments. You have to be careful not to bet too many games, because you can say I'm going to bet nine bets Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that's probably too many, because it doesn't work like some people think. if you're making more bets, that doesn't mean you have a greater chance to win. It's actually the opposite. So if you would do three and do that consistently over the tournament per day, I think you come out much better than trying to go 7-1 on one given day. Because there's just so many moving parts to these games. You just can't. I mean, there's going to be bad beats. There's going to be buzzer beaters, and they're going to. Sometimes you're going to be thrilled that let it happen, and you won, and then you're going to be like, "Oh my God, I had that game won, and that kid made a 3-pointer." So just a caution. I think, if you like a team total in points and play under or over, that's a good thing to be doing too. But to do like first half and full game, that's where it can get a little risky, because if you're dead wrong, you're going to lose both of them. Much better to use the in game, and that's something that I know I'm going to be doing. Like 50% of my 4% best bet amount will go pre-flop, and then I'm going to use game volatility to my advantage, and I'll scale down my average line to a much more favorable line than you can get even pre-flop.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, John. One cautionary note I want to say too, you were just saying some things that can be dangerous. When we talk about live betting, I'm pretty sure John would agree with this, but when you bet pregame and then you want to bet something live, you're not betting way more. It's not going to be, all at once it's 10 or 15% of your bankroll. You just bet a little bit less in the beginning. I actually had some clients who what they try to do is double down and triple down. And, then, you take an under and, they just keep shooting lights out. I mean, it happens in games, John. We see it.
Yep.
We know that there's some 60% shooting. You don't want to lose 15 or 20% of your bankroll in one game. So when we say, average in, we don't mean, bet your full size and then add to it and just keep going and keep going. We just start smaller and then add a little bit to it.
Yeah, that's a great point, because, 3, 4, 5% is how most of us do it as professionals. So that's of your bankroll. So, for example, if you did, let's just say you're a $100 bettor on a 4% play, then that, what Kyle just said, is you would put $50 on your team pre-flop, and then maybe scale in 25% of your 4-star amount, that $100. So you'd be 25 and 25 in game. And as Kyle knows, I like to sell into a run. So if we're playing any of these games and the team you bet on, the opponent runs off 10 or more points without an answer, that's the optimal time to do the in game. But a lot of times, I use MGM and Parks and one other, DraftKings. A lot of times the juice will be like minus 120, and I've learned to wait. And sometimes you miss it, but you got to think that there's going to be another bus coming. I missed that one, and you be patient with it and don't force it. My recommendation is never pay minus 120 juice on a live bet ever. Look for the plus 100, the minus 105. And that's about it. I guess I'm done. I'll step down from the pulpit now.
No, I agree with you, John. I think that, you lay that kind of juice, maybe in a money line sport like baseball, you have to bet minus 120 or minus 125 sometime, but you're talking a live bet or laying, minus 125 with a total or something like that that's just been juiced. That's really dangerous in the long run. That changes your win percentage, what you have to win, pretty significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kyle, I want you to be able to tell the folks that are in the chat room and ones that will be listening at archive where they can get information from you and how they can subscribe to your services and anything else you want to share with us.
First, thanks to the commenter down there who says who had a comment about me. I disagree with that. I never think of myself too highly. I always try to be the most humble person there is, and I haven't had the season I've wanted to have in college basketball this year. And I do tell you, I've spent a ton of time prepping here for March Madness. Once March Madness is over, I'm gonna have to spend some time with the family again, right? So because this is a busy time of the year, but um, hopefully it's going to be a strong March Madness. I have a special offer here for the rest of the season. If you're watching this, mention the Predictive Playbook. You can send me a message at Kyle Hunter Picks on Twitter or Kyle at HunterSportsPicks.com. All my plays the rest of the season in college basketball for $199. There's going to be quite a few plays. I have done well in March in the past. Kind of like John, I don't really like to say that too much because, once you start saying, wow, look how great I've done in March, you have that one March where you do really poorly and everybody says, hey, you said you were good in March, something like that. But March is a good month for me on the whole. And I'm going to have plenty of plays. Most of them will be totals. If you know me well, you know that I'm usually a totals guy. So we'll have some sides and a lot of totals. And if you want to reach out to me, $199 for the rest of this year. You can follow me on Twitter at Kyle Hunter Picks. Always accessible there if you have a question as well.
And I can't recommend anyone more than Kyle. I've known him for a while now, and you can definitely trust him to deliver the goods. And it's no joke. So that's an exceptional opportunity at $199 for the rest of the college basketball season, and I encourage you to go get it. So I guess that'll do it for today, Kyle. We have two shows that we did back to back. A lot of information, a lot of good plays. And always reach out to us on Twitter. Send us direct messages. We're accessible. We'll respond. If you have any questions about any games, we'll do our best to help you out. And for the Predictive Playbook, I am John Ryan, and may all the wins be yours.